Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Las Vegas. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Going bell to bell with the best in professional wrestling news, entertainment, and lots of Sin City surprises from inside the squared circle. Now, let's get to all the exciting pro wrestling action and bring on the host. Here is Mark Hoke.
And let's get it rolling. Hour number 2 of the Mark Hoke Show here on KDAWN 101.5 FM. It is the talk of Las Vegas. And we're talking pro wrestling. Holy cow. What a week. What a week. we didn't even come close to getting through all of the news from hour number 1. And so I needed help. Because, well, I need help anyway. That's just how it goes. But, of course, we are on the Odyssey app and on KDAWN. We're also streaming on YouTube and Facebook. So if you want to get your 2 cents in, we'd love to hear from you making comments, get in that chat box on YouTube or Facebook. But I got to bring this guy in. Great friend. Love this man to death. He's pretty amazing. Matt Black from WrestleZone, one of the senior editors over there, and just brings it every week. Every time he's on the show, it is just pure heat and happiness. It is nothing but
that's one way to put it.
It is just nothing but sunshine and rainbows when Matt's on the show. Matt Black, damn. Welcome. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, man. It's been a crazy week in pro wrestling. I feel like 2024 we're only in April, and I feel like it's already trumped everything out of 2023 when people were last year saying nothing's going to top 2023. Well, we're already 4 months into 2024, and they're just like, bye-bye. We've already surpassed last year's, and we've got 8 more months to go.
Can you remember a month like this? I mean, this has been unreal.
It's crazy. I feel like the last 3 years in pro wrestling have played a game of can you top this? And every year seems so crazy and so full of news, and you're like, this is the peak. It's gonna get next year is not gonna be able to top what we've done, and the next year it keeps topping it. We are definitely in the hottest period of pro wrestling since the Monday Night Wars, and I'm thrilled to be a part of that.
Yeah, it's good for all of us.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
To say the least. And so, well, I was talking about Tony Khan and what happened on AEW Dynamite and kind of the follow-up through all that. So why don't we hit that first, and we'll keep that going. So your thoughts on this whole thing, because and I think first when Tony aired that security footage with Jack Perry and CM Punk, I don't know too many people that were in the industry that said this was a good idea. I think we all thought it was just Tony being a little bit personal and spiteful. Boy, did we eat our words, because this has a chance to really be a seminal point in AEW.
As the Joker said in The Dark Knight, it was all a part of the plan.
Yes, it was.
And that's what this was. This video was played because AEW plans things out months in advance. And the only thing that really deters AEW's plans are injuries. So they're planning these major storylines out weeks, months ahead of time. So they knew when they were airing this footage, they knew what this was going to lead into. And this footage single-handedly got everybody talking about Jack Perry again. Because, yeah, he was in New Japan. He was doing stuff with House of Torture and stuff. But no one was really talking about it. Like, no one really cared. It's like, yeah, Jack Perry's over in New Japan, whatever. When this footage came out, everything flipped. And then 2 days later, Jack Perry was in Chicago for a New Japan show where you'd think he'd be booed out of the building. And he ended up getting a very polarizing reaction. It felt like half the crowd was loving everything he did and half the crowd was hating him. It was a reaction I don't think anybody expected. And this has just basically turned into a vehicle to bring Jack Perry back as one of the top stars in the company. And I'm just going to throw this out here right now. Double or Nothing in Las Vegas, I believe Jack Perry will be challenging Swerve Strickland for the AEW World Championship.
Wow, really?
I do. I think the Bucks are gonna pull some power ranking BS with Tony having to run Dynamite remotely because he can't travel, and I think they're gonna manipulate the rankings, and I think Perry's gonna get that shot against Swerve at Double or Nothing, because I don't think it was an accident that Swerve called out the Elite last night on Collision.
True.
And told them what they did to Tony Khan on Dynamite was a bitch move. I think all the pieces are being put in place for Perry to have a huge match next month in Las Vegas.
Boy, that would be interesting. Matt, you ought to come out, by the way.
Yeah, probably not.
Oh, you should. See, you're getting psyched about Double or Nothing here in Las Vegas.
Dude, I was psyched about Dynasty, and I didn't go to that either. I think I'm going to the Forbidden Door in New York in June.
Oh.
So, like that, I try to limit. The traveling's expensive, man. It's very, very expensive. I wish I could go to every single show. It's just not financially feasible. I think I'm going to Forbidden Door in June.
Matt, I'll get you.
So,
I'll get you a friend's place to stay at. Hop on Frontier. You get a cheap flight. You may have to put up with an uncomfortable seat, but I'll get you taken care of if you come out. Okay.
We'll see. We'll see what we can do.
I'll take care of you. I promise. But in terms of this feud, and I was discussing this too. You know, normally you would look at this and say, well, you know, everybody's should be on Tony Khan's side, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think you talked about the reception that Jack Perry got for the New Japan show. I have a feeling this is going to end up being kind of a split group, because I think there's a lot of people that are going to be sympathetic to Jack Perry, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be sympathetic to the Bucks, because they were saying, you know, we never got to really put our side out of the whole thing that happened, you know, with the Brawl In situation. So, you know, this is going to be very intriguing, and, you know, maybe Tony's going to have to walk a little bit of a line here too, because, you know, he was the boss and they didn't like how they handled it.
Well, one of the greatest things, I mentioned the Monday Night War era earlier. One of the greatest things about that era was the NWO. And not everybody loved the NWO. Not everybody hated the NWO. There was a very mixed audience response on how people felt about that faction. And if they played their cards right in AEW, the Elite could technically feel like a modern-day NWO. Half the crowd hates everything they're doing. Half the crowd loves everything they're doing. And it makes for a very dynamic response in the arena, and especially people talking about it online, because you know how people love to talk about things online. So I'm very excited for where things are going to be going in the coming months. I think this was a home run angle to close Dynamite. I think Tony got extreme publicity for AEW in the last 72 hours, appearing on various NFL platforms wearing the neck brace, selling the Attack. And I think this is just a gigantic win for AEW all around. I think that company needs to be very proud of themselves right now for what they've managed to pull off. It's a good time to be a wrestling fan.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I saw your tweet was talking about the neck brace, and then I was actually producing SportsX Radio, and we were watching the draft, and when they showed the scene in the Jacksonville War Room, yeah. I was actually on the mic, and I just went crazy. I'm screaming. I've never seen
so many people on my timeline talking about the NFL draft. I normally have a handful of people. It's normally, you know, I normally see a lot of NFL chatter, you know, but the volume of people I saw talking about that, I've never seen that on my timeline before. So big win. They had wrestling fans tuning in that probably never tuned into an NFL draft before, just to see if Tony was going to keep kayfabe alive and wear that neck brace on the draft. And he did. And it was fantastic.
Yep.
I couldn't be happier.
Yeah. Great throwback. Absolutely had to love that. That was just an awesome moment. We also, you know, had some, you know, of course, AEW Dynasty and, you know, some title changes there. But of course, the big one is Swerve Strickland. Yeah. And, you know, I got to interview Swerve God, that was about 6 months ago. And just talking about how he had changed his persona, became more of the horror movie kind of guy and studying his opponents and, just changing his philosophy from when he got out of NXT. And, couldn't be happier for the man. I really couldn't. This is a guy who puts so much time into what he does, not just in the ring, but outside of it. And to see him win this world championship, I think meant a lot to the fans for what he did. But, the reaction to that, but now where does it go? I mean, you're talking about him taking on Jack Perry. Jeez, does he get a short reign? I mean,
no.
This is going to be very intriguing.
So, Sora's going to win. He's not going to be excuse me. He's not going to be a transitional champion. Not.
Hang in there, Matt.
Yeah.
I got you for a sec. You're all right.
Yeah, give me a sec.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, Matt Black from WrestleZone, grabbing the Gatorade, getting a little lubed up. It's all good.
He's not going to be a transitional champion. I don't foresee that. A lot of people predict it will be him. It will Ospreay at All In for the AEW World Championship. But if Ospreay wins the International Championship next month at Double or Nothing against Roderick Strong, that's probably out the window. So if that happens, I'm honestly not sure what's next for Swerve after Perry. But, I do know what's next for Swerve after Perry. It's going to be a returning Hangman. You got to go back to the Hangman Swerve rivalry, and Hangman's off TV right now because as far as I've read online, I think he had his second child.
Yeah,
so
that
congratulations
makes sense,
to Hangman, out there, getting the time off, but definitely deserved. Love to see that. But when he returns, he's going to be furious that the one objective he had was to keep Swerve away from the championship, and he won it when he was out suspended by the Elite. So yeah, I think after Perry, I think Hangman's the next logical step, and that maybe they do Hangman and Swerve it All In, because the pay-per-view between Double or Nothing and All In is Forbidden Door. So I'm imagining Swerve's going to face somebody from New Japan, but I'm not sure who that would be at the time being.
Yeah, that's part of the fun of AEW.
Yeah.
There's so many directions they could go right now, and I think partially too they may have been hoping that MJF or Adam Cole was going to get back. But boy, I'll tell you, that's some bad stories there. I don't know if you saw the reports that just came out, but MJF is nowhere near a return. He's going to be having surgery on that shoulder. He's going to be gone for a long time.
I'm not 100% sure I buy that report.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't. I don't. I think Cole's going to be back sooner rather than later. I don't know about MJF, but I'm not 100% sure that report is accurate.
Okay, so, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm not trying to call anybody out, but I'm not 100% certain that report's accurate.
Yeah, well, I guess we will find out on that. But yeah, and that was a shame too, because it really did throw AEW into a weird spot with both those guys going down at the conclusion of that storyline. Just wow. I mean, Cole, but we'll see if Adam Cole can at least get back here.
Yeah, as I said earlier, the main thing that can always derail AEW's programming is injuries, because they plan so far out in advance for what they want to do. And when Cole went down at Grand Slam, and MJF was clearly needed time off after World's End, to lose those two keys of that storyline going into 2024 was a disastrous blow for AEW's creative. But there's nothing you can do about injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, as stacked as AEW's roster is right now, you have to think of everybody that's still out. Cole, MJF, Kenny Omega. They have so many big names. Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter. AEW has never had a television programming stretch where they've had their roster at full strength.
Yeah.
And I think when they finally manage to get that and everything's firing on all cylinders, my God, It's gonna be a special stretch of programming for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Of course, we're on the Mark Hoke Show here with special guest from WrestleZone.com, Matt Black, joining us, and we got his throat squared up. We're all good.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I
It
told
happens.
you yesterday I was feeling a little under the weather, so
It happens. It happens to all of us, man. Yeah, I got to throw my throat out for a sec. I was yelling on Brian Kilmeade's stage. It's crazy. 1,000 people out there looking at me like I'm nuts. That was something else. Yeah, and by the way, there were some other injuries too. Darby Allin saying he got run over by a bus in New York City. Did you see that?
See the picture?
Yeah.
That man can't catch a break.
Unbelievable.
Like, seriously, I thought the universe threw him a bone by breaking his foot so he didn't have to climb Mount Everest. But then that broken foot cost him to get hit by a bus in New York City. Like,
it's like
what is going on?
It's like an Alanis Morissette song. I mean, it's sad. I mean, when I interviewed Darby, he was so excited about climbing Mount Everest. He breaks his foot in a mat, last match before he's going on the break. And then he's trying to cross the street and gets hit by a bus because he can't move. Unbelievable. Yeah, so
Unreal.
Darby's hurt. Powerhouse Hobbs hurts his knee. We don't know what's up with him.
Yeah, we don't know the extent of that right now. I'm hoping it's not serious. But they definitely went to that finish quickly.
They did.
So, and that's very unfortunate. He's one of their top rising names, and it seems like they're already looking to maybe not replace him, but Don Callis watching that parking lot brawl last night on Rampage and looking like he's eyeing up Trent Beretta as the newest member of the Don Callis family. Looks like they're already, looking to filter in new people into that group, because let's face it, it's only a matter of time until Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher are out of there.
Right.
I think they're waiting on Mark Davis to come back, because when Mark Davis comes back, they can literally just do the United Empire in AEW, and I think they're going to, but there's no reason to do that until the other half of Aussie Open is back.
Yeah.
So.
God, it's just so many puzzle pieces over there. Yeah.
Yes.
And who else? Let's see who else. Dominic Mysterio. He's whatever's going on with him, and there's different reports about his elbow.
He's not going to have surgery. Dave Meltzer on Friday on the Wrestling Observer newsletter said he was going to have Tommy John surgery on his elbow, and Dominic came out on social media less than like an hour later from that report come out and said, no surgery for me. So I guess he's just going to rehab it and try to get through it. So hopefully that works out. Sometimes rehabbing works great, and sometimes rehabbing fails, and then you end up having to go into surgery. So fingers crossed for Dominic. Never a good time to get hurt, especially when Judgment Day needs all hands on deck right now without Rhea Ripley being there right now. It's really hard to continue the story of what they're trying to do right now when all of their stablemates are dropping like flies.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unbelievable. But yeah, so kind of a massive injury list for WWE and AEW. And yeah. So, well, I'll tell you what, that's a pretty good spot to take a break, because when we come back with Matt Black, we will discuss the new WWE Women's Champion. Of course, Rhea Ripley going down, and Becky Lynch has claimed that title. Good, bad, or indifferent? We'll see what Matt thinks about that one. So stick around, everybody. We've got a whole lot more here on the Mark Hoke Show, the best in pro wrestling news and entertainment. We will be right back with a whole lot more with Matt Black from WrestleZone. Make sure you follow him at WrestleZone.com, all his great work. We'll be right back.
This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
And let's get back to it, shall we? The best in pro wrestling news and entertainment here on KDAWN 101.5 FM, the talk of Las Vegas. Of course, also out there on that Odyssey app. Download that thing right now. Amazing app. All sorts of terrific programming on KDAWN and elsewhere. So you should get that app right now. Don't waste time. Don't be silly. Just get the app. And you can listen to my show and many others wherever you are. Of course, we're also streaming on YouTube and Facebook. And I have one of my best pals right here, best friends. Hopefully he'll never attack me and bounce my head off a van. Matt Black from WrestleZone.com joining us here on the show. And, of course, it was a terrible time for my screen to kick onto the screensaver. You can follow him on Twitter at RawFShowtime. There we go. That's what I was trying to say before we went to break. Happy to have you, Matt.
It's good to be here, man.
All right. So, Matt, new women's champ, Becky Lynch,
Yes.
of course, had to step in for Rhea Ripley, who had that crazy freak injury, bounces off a locker and wrecks her AC joint. Right call, yes or no?
Absolutely the right call, 100%. When your top star on Raw goes down, you go to your faithful person that you can go to at any point when things go to shit. WWE has two of those, and it's Becky Lynch and it's Charlotte Flair. And Charlotte's on the shelf right now too. So you don't have a whole lot of choices. You had to go with Becky Lynch. And it's a battle royal. And I know I saw Liv Morgan's fan base losing their minds on social media after Raw Monday night. Do y'all really want her moment of being crowned the new champion by winning a battle royal?
No.
Really?
No.
Like, to me, her moment of winning that title is going to mean a lot more when she beats Becky Lynch one-on-one and wins that championship. Because believe you me, by the time Rhea Ripley's ready to come back, Liv Morgan's going to be holding that title. And then that's going to be off to the races. But you don't need to do that right now. You don't need to do that immediately. You put the title on Becky because Becky's an anchor. Becky's going to be able to carry that division. And when you beat Becky, you've done something. Winning a battle royal for a championship, that's perfect for somebody who's done it all before. You know, the Charlottes, the Beckys, the Baileys. If somebody like that wins a battle royal, it's to be expected. Of course, they're one of the top people in the company. Of course, they're going to win a battle royal. Yeah. But if you want somebody who hasn't really had much championship experience, Liv had that, that cup of coffee with Ronda Rousey a couple of years ago, but that was short and uneventful. If you really want her championship win to mean something, do it in a one-on-one match with Lynch on a pay-per-view. Like, I don't understand the people that felt it had to be done in that battle royal on Monday. I think Becky was 100% the right call.
Yeah, and if you think about it, if they were doing this planned push with Liv, you don't want to just stick it out there and then all of a sudden, Rhea comes back and you're going to be in a situation where, Rhea's going to just crush her again. I mean, that wouldn't be the way to do it. You want to give Liv that big win over Rhea to set this up. So I don't think it was a bad decision at all. And, plus Liv's got to learn to not stand on the apron when she's in a battle royal for a championship.
Lots of wrestlers make that mistake, unfortunately.
Yeah, just stand in the middle.
Get in the ring.
Yeah, just drop, roll under, boom.
Yes,
good.
Exactly. If you're on the apron, do everything in your power to get back in the ring. Don't worry about your opponent. Worry about getting back in that squared circle, man.
Yeah, come on, Liv. What are you doing? Jeez.
Rookie move.
Yeah, she's not a rookie. She should know better. Gosh darn it. A little reaction to what's going on with Nic Nemeth now, and we have seen, Nick obviously doesn't win the Impact title here or the TNA title here in Las Vegas, but just hops on down to Mexico and wins the
AAA Mega Championship.
And now he's got a title in Japan. He's got a title in Mexico, and obviously he'll be back challenging for the TNA title at some point. But what an intriguing story with him since he left WWE. And I'm curious to get your reaction to what's going on with him. Just, I got to meet him and just, great guy. But it's fascinating where his career is going right now. He's been out doing all this crazy stuff on the indies too. And I know he won another title out on the indies. Fascinating the last few months for that man.
Yeah, and hot take. I think TNA made a major mistake by not crowning him at Rebellion, because he would have been in the Kenny Omega position, holding 3 major championships at the same time. I think TNA lost out on that. I think TNA could have had a lot of publicity by having their world champion, who's also the world champion of AAA, who's also the global champion of New Japan. I would have put the title on Nick at Rebellion. I think they made a mistake. I think they did it for the cheap pop of Matt Hardy coming back and delayed that. I don't think it was needed. I think Matt Hardy can do whatever he wants there for however long or however short he's there for. He didn't need to be immediately inserted into the world title picture. And I think TNA made a massive mistake, especially if they knew ahead of time that Nick was going to win this AAA Mega Championship this weekend. I think they kind of blew it.
I got to admit, I was a little surprised about it too. And, they did such a great job going around Las Vegas and hyping this thing up. And, I guess to a point, I see the loyalty in it and keeping Moose on top. And, I like Matt Hardy. But, it's kind of, Matt shows up and he's holding the TNA world title. And I was kind of like, okay, that's interesting. But at the same time, I'd rather see Nick just win it. But, you also kind of elevate Moose too. I get both sides of it. But, boy, I think you get more mileage out of Nick being the champion. I don't know. I was really torn on it. I really was.
I think when TNA is in an era where they need to attract as many new viewers as they possibly can to continue their trek to be a viable number 3 in the United States, I don't think Moose is that guy. Like, I like Moose. I like what he does in the ring. But I don't think Moose is bringing any new fans into the TNA product. I think the system as a faction is extremely boring. And I don't think that's the group that I'd be, centering my television product around when I'm trying to attract new fans right now. I think Top Class is 100% or First Class. My bad. Mm-hmm. First Class is 100% more entertaining than anything the system's doing right now. I don't know why they're so gung-ho behind this group. But I think it's kind of almost a detriment to their programming right now.
Yeah, very interesting thought. Yeah, I think it did catch a lot of people off guard when we were all there. Everybody was really expecting Nick to win. So
yeah, if I would have put a bet down, I definitely would have put money down on Nemeth winning that match last weekend.
Well, maybe it's just the slow burn, and we're doing a little mini Cody Rhodes here too. So I don't know. But congratulations to Nick for another big win. And, maybe it was, hey, look, Nick just won this other title too. And it gives Moose a little more credibility. I don't know. But I just saw that happen and thought it was pretty intriguing. Backlash is coming up.
Yes.
And
this weekend. Or this weekend now. Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody forgot about it. This card.
They haven't announced a whole lot for it.
No.
To be fair, like, how many matches do we?
We got 5.
Look, I do this for a living, and I am hard pressed to remember anything beyond the women's triple threat with Bayley, Tiffany, and Naomi.
That's
and
one.
Cody Rhodes against AJ Styles.
There's 2.
You said there's 5?
There's 5.
You gotta help me, man, because I can't remember the other matches. I'm not even playing a joke. Like, they have not built this show well enough. I don't remember what the other matches on this show are.
So here's your 5 matches. It's Cody and AJ Styles for the Undisputed Championship. Damian Priest and Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight title.
Oh, yeah, okay, yep.
We got Bayley against Naomi and Tiffany Stratton for the WWE Women's Championship. The Kabuki Warriors taking on Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill for the women's tag titles. And
that was kind of quickly brushed over on Friday.
It was. And Randy Orton and Kevin Owens against the Bloodline.
Yes.
That just popped up.
That one I should have remembered. They've done a good job telling that story, and I loved seeing Orton injected into that on Friday night. I very much enjoyed that. I should have seen that coming. Do you think we get Jacob Fatu on Saturday to help them beat KO RKO KO?
RKO KO. I like that. I hope so. That would be fun.
That's what I would do. I would bring in Jacob Fatu and have him be the determining factor of why Tama and Solo win. That's how I would book it.
Yeah, that would be terrific. And honestly, I am so excited for Jacob to get in here. If people haven't seen Jacob, and obviously he was the MLW champion for a really long time. I got to see him live here taking on. Let's see, that was actually against Cross that I got to watch him. It was right after Cross had gotten released from WWE, and I got to see those two go at it. And actually saw Scarlett give him a code red here in Las Vegas. Oh, it was an unbelievable moment, unbelievable. But Jacob is so good.
I don't think people are prepared.
No,
people who are not experienced and have seen a lot of his work, I don't think people are prepared for what that man is capable of inside the ring. Because you see a man of his size, he shouldn't be able to move like he moves. He shouldn't be able to do what he does. And I make this comparison a lot, and I know it's kind of hard to do since he's so much larger than Jacob, but he reminds me of like a modern day Yokozuna. Because you looked at Yokozuna and then you saw him move, and you're like, no way someone of his size should be able to move like he does in the ring and do the things that he does. And Jacob is kind of like that modern day version. It's funny enough, they're all in the same bloodline. But yeah, people are going to lose their minds when they see Jacob Fatu pull out like those springboard planches and stuff for the first time.
Yeah.
Because someone his size, it shouldn't happen. He's a special talent. WWE is very lucky to have him, and I think he's really going to solidify this new look bloodline as the legitimate scary faction that people are going to have to deal with in the months ahead.
Yeah, it's going to be very intriguing. By the way, I want to say hi to everybody in the chat box. Gamer Bear is in there saying Matt's back, baby. So say hi to Gamer Bear. Mark Cho's in there. Bionic Scoop. By the way, Matt, if you guys are ever looking for a photographer, Bionic Scoop is your man. I'll get you the hookup on that because he is one of the best in the business. Period. End of story. So,
nice.
Yeah. So you guys should exchange info. But and Jacob also goes in a category to me like a Brian Cage or a Hammerstone that those two guys don't get the credit for. They're just very muscular, very strong, but they don't get the credit for the agility that they have. Yeah. And I watched Cage and Hammerstone go at it pretty close up too, and some of the things that they can just fly around the ring, and a lot of times except when they get to wrestle each other, you don't get to see them do anything but a lot of the power stuff. But those three are all kind of cut from the same cloth, that they can do the incredible agility maneuvers. They just don't get to do it that much. So it is going to be fun. I cannot wait for Jacob Fatu to get released in WWE.
Yeah, I'm really hoping for Backlash. Originally, he was scheduled for Friday SmackDown earlier in the week, and then for some reason they decided to pull him, and they're like, "Well, we're not in any rush to bring him to TV." And I'm like, "Well, why decide him to sit him at home? Bring the man in. Let's go.
Yeah,
let's get this bloodline going right now. The bloodline's just a tag team. Let's make it a real faction again." Because apparently, as far as my understanding, Jimmy's write-off of TV was because of an injury. So I don't know if Jimmy would have been kicked out of the bloodline like he was had he not been hurt. And I also wonder if that had anything to do with the match with Jay at WrestleMania that people were underwhelmed by. I wonder if that was because Jimmy went into that match hurt. I don't know that for a fact, but I do know he was written off of TV because he's injured and he's going to be gone for a while.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and the new bloodline, and Roman's not getting drafted anywhere. I'm just going to do my own thing. Good for him. Good for him.
Well, why draft Roman when he's never going to show up anyway? Why waste the draft pick? Why?
I wanted to ask you about that. I'm going to hold that because I got a hit break. I want to ask you a question about this because I remember. Well, the draft sucks. I hate the draft.
It does, and I have a way to fix it.
I hate the draft.
I have a way to fix it.
Okay, let's hold that too. That'll be two fun topics when we get back. So stick around, everybody. We've got a whole lot more with Matt Black from WrestleZone. Now I got Matt in the bitter zone too, so this will be fun. Stick around, everybody. We've got one more segment to go on the Mark Hoke Show here on KDAWN, the best in pro wrestling news and entertainment. We will be right back. A whole lot more with Matt Black. I'm Mark Hoke. We'll be one more time around. Stick around, everybody.
.1015 FM KDAWN. You're listening to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Vegas, The Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Now, here again is Mark Hoke.
Oh, let's fight. Let's fight. This will be fun.
Let's go.
Yeah. Matt Black joining Mark Hoke here on the Mark Hoke Show. Oh, I just talked to myself in the third person. I swear to God, I'd never do that. That's Ken Thompson from SportsX Radio rubbing off on me. He did it again last night, too. But we're having a great time talking pro wrestling. That's what we do on this fantastic show. And we want to thank everybody for listening to us and everybody in the chat box join us and just having an awesome time. Let's see. Yeah, there's a comment about Jimmy Uso. He's going to guess Jimmy was injured on night 2 and speared off the stage.
Right. That was a wild spot and a wild landing. You know what? He might be 100% correct there.
Yeah.
That was a crazy spot.
Yeah, it didn't look good.
No, it didn't. It looked like it hurt.
Well, the WWE Draft, let's get into that. I hate it.
Yes.
I think it sucks. I think it's a total waste of time. But they get ratings. That's the thing that stinks about it. Everybody watches the damn thing.
Well, because everybody has draft fever. They've smartly associated it with the NFL Draft now. So when people were thinking of the NFL Draft, WWE's doing their draft too. Let me check it out. Type of deal. But yeah, new era, old era, don't matter what era. This version of the WWE Draft sucks.
I can't stand it. It doesn't mean anything because everybody just
boring.
bounces back and forth.
Well, 5 people moved on Friday.
Yeah.
And everybody else stayed where they were. Like a whole bunch of draft picks, like, oh yeah, you stay here and you stay here and you stay here. I'm like, what's the point?
There is none.
There's a way to fix it.
How do you fix it? Tell me.
There was back in the day, I can't remember what years this ran, but how they ran the draft was they did Raw versus SmackDown matches on both shows. And the winner of each show got a random draft pick on the board. It was almost like a slot machine.
Right. I remember
So if you're only going to, let's say they had 5 people move on SmackDown on Friday. You have 5 matches on the show, Raw versus SmackDown. If the Raw guy wins, then you have a slot machine featuring all the talents of NXT and SmackDown. And if a SmackDown guy wins, you have a slot machine filled with all the Raw talents in NXT. You have those matches. They're interesting because you don't see Raw versus SmackDown matches very often anymore. And then you move 5 people. So everything that happens on the show actually matters instead of just drafting a whole bunch of people back to the same show they were already on.
Yeah.
Make every single match have stakes, make every move matter, and make the draft exciting again and give people a reason to want to tune in and not feel disappointed afterwards.
Yeah. It just, I don't know. They used to actually hold to it, and now they don't. So it's,
well,
I don't know.
Look, let's see what Triple H does. We can't
right.
say Triple H isn't going to hold to it yet.
All
So
right.
the draft, they said the drafts will lock it on May 6th. So once May 6th hits, let's see if Triple H holds firm on, who's been drafted, and let's see what happens. Let's give Triple H the benefit of the doubt before we automatically just assume he's going to do exactly what Vince did.
I think you should.
And if he does, then we can just be like, well, same boss, same as the old boss. So we'll find out soon enough.
They should draft you to Raw. You already got it in the Twitter handle.
I mean, I could help with the creative team.
There you go. Let's do it.
I would be more than willing to help either company's creative team. If AEW or WWE want to come calling and offer me a creative position, I would happily take it, and I would do everything in my power to help the overall programming be better from a week-to-week basis. I would love to be able to do that.
All right. Now here's the other fight. Now, you were not criticizing Roman Reigns for not wrestling much. All right. Now, I know, I think you had put out a tweet about how many times Roman defended the Universal Championship a while back. If I remember right.
Very, very few.
Very few. But I would debate you a little bit that it's a little bit of a different era now. That when you, back in the 70s and so on, the model of the business was a lot different. That you had to go out and to make money in promotions. Those guys had to go out and wrestle 7, 8, 9 times in a week for them to make the money and promote what they were doing. You were on local TV. It wasn't like it is now where you had the internet and you could draw different streams of revenue and so on. Now it's more media driven. You're having to do more different things. And especially if you're that guy that's on top, your obligations are far different than what they are today. And, and those guys still do go out and do some of the house shows and stuff like that. So I understand why they don't defend as much as they do. Plus I think you do have to protect those guys a little bit more as well. You can't have them going and, getting injured at a worthless house show. No offense to everybody. So I get your point, but at the same time, I think the model's a lot different. So
my main issue does not stem from the amount of title defenses. My main issue stems from how little they show up on television. Cody Rhodes is showing up everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
House shows, Raw, SmackDown, wherever Cody Rhodes is showing up. And Cody Rhodes is doing his thing. Even if he's not wrestling that night, Cody's there. If you're to me, Roman Reigns with that 3-year reign, if you're making the money that you're making, you can show up to work once a week on SmackDown and help continue the Bloodline story. And then go home for the rest of the week. I'm not asking you to go work the house shows. I'm not asking you to also be on Raw. But if you're going to hold a world championship in WWE for 3 years, you got to show up to work once a week. And I'm not asking you to wrestle, but you got to be there. You got to be on TV. You got to help advance your storyline and move it forward. I think the part-time wrestler works perfectly well when they don't hold a championship. But when a title goes on them, that's when things need to change. You need to show up. You need to be there. You need to be there and present at work. I had that issue with Lesnar. I had that issue with Roman. And if Cody started no-showing SmackDowns in the coming weeks, I'd have that issue with Cody Rhodes as well.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I'm just curious with Roman. You don't suppose it has anything to do with health issues, do you?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't.
He's just kicking it back.
Yeah. Look, I know he's got a big family and they want him home, and that's great. But I mean, man, 1 day a week, and the average American goes out and works 5 to 6 days a week, and they still have time for their families. You can't do 1 day, Roman. You can't work 1 day. Come on, man. Just one day.
The ones.
It's 1 day. This is what it's for.
Put our one finger up, everybody, on the live stream. We got a one finger up. That's great.
That's
it. Oh my God. All right. Well, Matt, tell everybody a little bit about WrestleZone if they don't know about it and where they can check it out and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, WrestleZone.com. We're there for you every day with the latest wrestling news, rumors, reports, interviews, podcasts, you name it. We've got everything on there. Every Monday night before Raw, We have Lost in the Mid-Card, which is our weekly podcast on WrestleZone with myself and Jeremy Bennett. We break down the week that was in professional wrestling, leading you right into Monday Night Raw. We're kind of like your unofficial pregame for Raw every week. So if you're hyped for Raw on Monday night, you want to hop in a chat room, talk some wrestling with us before the show, come check out Lost in the Mid-Card. It's always a good time.
That sounds great. Matt, it is always a pleasure to have you on the show. We have a great time. I love working with you, buddy.
Of course. Yeah, I always love coming on here, man.
And I appreciate it. So that is going to wrap it up here. By the way, Bionic Scoop says, check him out at the Bionic Scoop. There's your photographer right there. I'm telling you.
Yes.
He's the man. He's amazing. So, guys, we will see you next week on the Mark Hoke Show. We'll be getting, I guess we'll have a backlash report and all sorts of follow-up from see if Tony Khan's neck's okay. I think mine's a little stiff. I think I whipped it during SportsX Radio on Friday night, so might have to get something for that. But Matt Black, thank you for joining us. We do appreciate it. And, of course, check out SportsX Radio on Sunday. We'll have the podcasts up as soon as I can get them out there. And that's going to do it. Mark Hoke Show on all your social media platforms. Give us a subscription at The Mark Hoke Show. Thanks to everybody for checking us out. And we will see you next week on The Mark Hoke Show here on KDAWN 101.5 FM, the talk of Las Vegas. Have a great day, everybody. We will see you next week.
Want more of The Mark Hoke Show? Follow us on Twitter at Mark Hoke Show, like us on Facebook at The Mark Hoke Show, and visit markhokeshow.com to keep up with everything happening with the show. And remember to check out all of our archive shows on YouTube at The Mark Hoke Show and download our podcasts at markhokeshow.podbean.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. So join The Mark Hoke Show family today, and thanks for listening.